Today I'm trying some optical illusion art. I've picked 5 different illusions, starting with the simpler ones and then slowly working up to the more complicated stuff, seeing if I can recreate them. And at the end, I'm going to try to make one original illusion myself. So let's get started. So for level 1 we have the 3D hole. You've probably seen it before. It's simple, but it still looks pretty cool. I just started by sketching out the square. I probably should have used a ruler, but I couldn't find one, so I just freehanded it. And yeah, it's a bit wobbly, but it's fine. Then I went in with a fine liner and outlined everything, filling in the black areas. Honestly, that was a pretty bad decision because it took forever. But after slowly filling everything in, it started looking more promising. I added some shading to one side with a pencil, and this is the result. If you squint your eyes a little bit, you can kind of see it. It's not bad. It's an okay start. It kind of worked, so I'm pretty happy with it. I'll give myself a 6 out of 10 for it. Now, let's move on. Level 2, the impossible ladder. This one was really cool. It's a ladder that only really makes sense when you look at it from a certain angle. And it's really trippy. So first, I folded the paper in half to mark the middle, and then I sketched out the shadow of the ladder. Again, freehand. I should have used a ruler though. Next, for the actual ladder, I held the paper up. I used my pencil to figure out where the middle line would sit, and then I marked those points, and then connected everything together. After that, I added the rungs and it was basically done. I went over it with a fine liner to clean it up, and this is what I got. It's really cool, but the ladder looked a bit too thin, so I thickened up the sides with a marker, and here it is again. Honestly, it came out really cool and I'm really happy with how it looks. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Now level 3, the 3D steps. This one looks like the steps are carved inside the piece of paper, but it's not, it's just a drawing on top. So, I first folded the paper into thirds so it can sit like a little table. Then I drew a big rectangle for the outline. You can see that there are now 2 sections separated by the fold. In those 2 sections, I added 2 rectangles inside each just like this. I don't know why I'm giving a tutorial, but here we go. So those are the steps. You then connect the corners with a line. Do the same for the right side. Now I'll outline it and fill in the shadow and add the final shade with a pencil. I think this is so cool in that it looks nothing like the end result on a flat surface. But when you fold it and look at it at an angle, it just comes together. Check this out. Isn't that so cool? The lighting is a bit off, but it still works and I'm pretty happy with it. I think I'll give this one a 7 out of 10. For level 4, we've got the floating cube. This one looks pretty simple, but it was way more confusing than I expected. It looks like a simple cube, but from above it's stretched out and warped. This was what made it so confusing. So I started with a diamond on the top, and then for the sides I drew these long lines tapering to the middle, which was not intuitive at all. But once that was done, everything else just fell into place. I added the shadow underneath and shaded it in, and then I took a box cutter to cut off the top section to make it look like it's disconnected from the page. This whole thing took me maybe 10 minutes. It's simple, but I imagine it's really easy to mess it up. The angle might not line up, making it look crooked, and I think I did pretty well. You can see it's a floating cube, and I think I'll also give this one a 7 out of 10. Level 5, the 3D spear. This one is crazy. It's a spear with a checkered pattern, and you can see the pattern wrap around the spear, and it looks like it's coming out of the page. I'm a little intimidated by this one, so I went to find a ruler before I begin. I couldn't find one, but I had this piece of wood lying around, so I think it'll work. First, I'm creating the guidelines for the checkered grid. I thought planning was pretty important to get it right. So I'm starting with the background, just getting in the checkered pattern, and then I'll approach the spear later, because if I did everything at the same time, I think I would have lost my mind. After the guideline, I erased the center, and then added the circle for the spear, and then added these curves to represent the curvature of the spear. And then I just filled in the black areas. And this is pretty repetitive, so I decided, I just put on some music and just feel like, it seems I made a mistake. But you know what? They say mistakes are just happy accident. So I'm just gonna continue hoping that I won't make another. Oh, that's another one. So we're just gonna ignore that. After filling everything in, I added a little bit of shading and that's done. Obviously, I made some mistakes, but I think it adds character. If you zoom out, it doesn't look that bad. I like it. I think I'll give it an 8 out of 10. The finale. The time has arrived. I'm gonna take everything I learned from the past 5 different illusions and try to make my own. One visual that stood out for me is the black and white checkered pattern. You see it everywhere in optical illusions, and I want to experiment with it myself. And whenever I think of checkered pattern, I immediately think of chess. So I decided to somehow incorporate a chessboard in my piece. Here I'm just brainstorming some ideas. One thing that I thought could work well is the floating cube illusion we did. I can build on that and make it my own. The problem is, how can I apply the same principle to tiny chess pieces? How can I get the perspective right? And how can I make it make sense? Then I had an idea. Since these illusions only really work from one angle, I realized I could use my phone camera to line everything up while drawing. That way I could adjust the proportions until the illusion actually makes sense on camera. I was really excited with this discovery and I wanted to dive in right away. So I did. First, I recreated the floating cube. Then using it as the foundation, I divided it into the chess grid, which then helped me place the chess pieces on top. Using the camera, I sketched in the pieces with great difficulty. I had to adjust the pieces multiple times until I get it. But I managed. And I was able to draw in all the pieces, which allowed me to move on to the outline, cleaning up the sketches. Now, all I have to do is fill in the black squares and pieces, add the final shading, and it is finished. I think I could have exaggerated the angle a bit more to make the illusion stronger, but overall, I'm pretty proud of how it turned out, and it was really fun to make. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Illusion art is pretty trippy, and I had a lot of fun with it. You should give it a go yourself and try and make your own. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later. Bye bye.